The Atlanta child murders, sin in the Bible Belt. Between 1979 and 1981, Atlanta, Georgia became the center of one of the most devastating and controversial crime investigations in American history. Over the course of nearly 2 years, children, teenagers, and young adults, almost all of them African American, began disappearing from neighborhoods across the city. Some were found days later, others were discovered months later. A few were never found at all. By the time the murder stopped, at least 28 people were dead. The case would come to be known as the Atlanta child murders. A city on edge. The first disappearances did not immediately spark panic. In the summer of 1979, 14-year-old Edward Hope Teddy Smith disappeared. 4 days later, 13-year-old Alfred Q. Evans vanished. Their bodies were found together on July 28, 1979, in a wooded area. Smith had been shot in the upper back with a .22 caliber weapon. Evans had been strangled. At the time, police did not alert the public of the presence of a serial killer. On September 4, 1979, 14-year-old Milton Harvey disappeared while running an errand for his mother. His bicycle was later found abandoned. His body would not be recovered until November, and his cause of death could not be determined. Weeks later, on October 21st, 9-year-old Yusuf Bell went to a neighborhood store and never came home. His body was discovered on November 8th inside an abandoned elementary school. He had been strangled. Still, authorities did not publicly link these cases. As 1980 began, the disappearances accelerated. The victims. On March 4th, 1980, 12-year-old Angel Lanier disappeared and was later found strangled, her hands bound. 1 week later, 11-year-old Jeffrey Mathis vanished. His body would not be found for nearly a year, and his cause of death remains undetermined. In May, 14-year-old Eric Middlebrooks disappeared. His body was found the next day near his bicycle. He had suffered blunt force trauma to the head. In June, 12-year-old Christopher Richardson disappeared on his way to a pool. His body was found months later. His cause of death could not be determined. Just days later, 7-year-old Latonia Wilson vanished from her apartment complex. Her body was later found skeletonized. No cause of death could be established. On June the 23rd, 10-year-old Aaron White disappeared. His body was found the next day beneath a bridge. Authorities ruled his death an asphyxiation. The summer of 1980 brought more victims. 9-year-old Anthony Carter was stabbed multiple times. 10-year-old Earl Terrell was killed by asphyxiation. 12-year-old Clifford Jones was strangled and found behind a shopping center dumpster. 10-year-old Darren Glass disappeared and was never recovered. In October, 12-year-old Charles Stevens was found suffocated. In November, 9-year-old Aaron Jackson was found strangled. 16-year-old Patrick Rogers disappeared and was later found with blunt force trauma to the head. By this point, Atlanta was terrified. Parents pulled children from school. Curfews were imposed. Hundreds of investigators were assigned to the case. The FBI became involved. A city searched desperately for answers. 1981. The pattern shifts. The murders continued into 1981. 14-year-old Luby Gator disappeared in January and was later found strangled. His friend, 15-year-old Terry Pugh, disappeared shortly after. His body was recovered following an anonymous tip. In February and March, more bodies were discovered, including those of Patrick Baltazar, Curtis Walker, Joseph Bell, and Timothy Hill, each killed by asphyxiation or strangulation. Then the victims changed. In March and April, adult men began appearing among the dead. Eddie Duncan, Larry Rogers, Michael McIntosh, Jimmy Ray Payne, John Porter, and William Barrett were all found murdered. Finally, on May 22, 1981, 27-year-old Nathaniel Cater was found dead in the Chattahoochee River. That discovery changed everything. The arrest of Wayne Williams. In late May 1981, police were staking out bridges over the Chattahoochee River after predicting the killer might dump another body into water. On May 22nd, officers heard a splash beneath a bridge and saw a white 1970 Chevrolet station wagon turning around and driving away. The driver was stopped and identified as 23-year-old Wayne Bertram Williams. Williams told police he had been on his way to meet a singer. No record of the appointment existed. 2 days later, Nathaniel Cater's body was found downstream. Williams was arrested in June 1981 and charged with the murders of Cater and Jimmy Ray Payne. He was never charged in the deaths of any children. The trial and conviction. At trial, prosecutors relied heavily on fiber evidence linking Williams's home, car, and dog to several victims. Witnesses testified to seeing Williams with some of the victims shortly before their deaths. In February 1982, Wayne Williams was convicted of 2 murders and sentenced to 2 consecutive life terms. After his conviction, authorities attributed many of the child murders to Williams. The killing stopped, but the questions remained. Controversy and unresolved questions. Williams has always maintained his innocence. Over the years, critics have questioned the fiber evidence, the lack of physical evidence tying Williams to most victims, and the decision to close dozens of cases without charges. In the mid-1980s, reports emerged suggesting possible involvement by members of the Ku Klux Klan in at least one murder. Investigations into those claims were later sealed. In 2007, DNA testing of dog hairs was conducted. The results were considered significant but not conclusive. In 2019, the city of Atlanta reopened the cases using modern forensic technology. As of today, no public results have been released. What remains? Out of the victims you've heard today, some cases remain unresolved. Some bodies were never found. Most attributions were never tested in court. Only 2 convictions were ever secured. Wayne Williams remains in prison. The families remain without answers. And the question that has haunted Atlanta for more than 40 years remains: were all of these murders committed by one man, or is the Atlanta child murderer still on the loose?